We want to show you how fun, how neat and clean, almost elegant composting can be.
I came to composting a little bit later than Elizabeth, but as I was getting older and making my own meals and then starting a family, I always thought, there's got to be a better way to dispose of the foods, the carrot tops and the excess, broccoli rabe leaves that I was throwing into the garbage. So I sat through a couple of composting classes, got a backyard composter, and went on my merry way. But through the years, there was always things you couldn't put in that composter. So I became very interested in looking at what other communities were doing, specifically Scarsdale, and was thrilled when Mamaroneck instituted their municipal food scrap. So I got involved, became a volunteer in the Love Your Food community program, which is something that we'll be talking about later on, that includes composting. And that's my composting story. Ellen?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. Yes, I'm Ellen Silver, and I am the chairperson of the Village of Mamaroneck Committee for the Environment. I helped establish the village's food scrap recycling program in 2018. We used to call it food waste. We now call it food scraps. Mm-hmm. But I came to know about the program in Scarsdale. They were really the innovators in Westchester, and I'm proud to say that our village was the second municipality in Westchester to adopt this program. So happy to be here with my colleagues from the town.
Okay, so what is compost? In the simplest terms, compost is the decomposition of organic matter, which includes food scraps, twigs, leaves, and it becomes, when it then transforms into a soil amendment or a soil enhancer, for a lack of a better word. It's not dirt because it has more nutrients, and it's not soil because it doesn't have the minerals or the rocks. It's really a soil enhancer that you can add to your soil to allow things to grow better. Okay, so why do it? My personal answer is because it's good for the environment and it's really easy to do. But from a larger or an aerial view, the 10,000 foot view, you listen to or read things from the EPA, and they state that there's upwards of 40 million tons of food that wind up in landfills. And the problem with that is the landfills are so packed with garbage that there's no way for the air to get to the organic matter and turn it into this soil enhancer. So it literally sits there and converts instead into methane gas, which is one of the leading contributors to climate change.
Okay, so the other thing about the food that goes into the waste stream, if you're in a community where they burn the waste, you're basically burning water. That's not efficient, so that doesn't make sense either. And another important reason to compost is to protect our natural resources, and especially Long Island Sound in our communities. Composting minimizes the use of synthetic fertilizers that are very high in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and they tend to be released very quickly. They're applied sometimes in large quantities, and when there's a rainstorm, it goes down your driveway and down the street and into Long Island Sound, or it can sink down into the groundwater and pollute that. So when this nitrogen, when these chemicals get into bodies of water, they can lead, and they do lead to eutrophication and fish die-off.
Mm-hmm. One of the other things is I have found when you do start composting, it's amazing how much lighter your trash becomes, and you wind up putting out your trash less times. I have the Monday, Thursday schedule for sanitation. Right now, I put it out maybe on a Monday, and I may not put it out until a week from that Thursday, because a lot of the heavy waste really came from food scraps, which now I use in my compost or in the municipal food waste container.
And another thing about compost is it's free fertilizer. We want to learn to leave the leaves and use what we already have. In addition to that, compost, as Judy was saying, improves soil texture. And this is something that you can't get any other way, actually. There's nothing better for improving the quality of your soil.
Right. And the bonus is your yard is lovely.
This is a picture of an American redbud, which is a lovely early blossoming native. And thriving in a yard that's pesticide-free, fertilized only with compost. So you can see in the picture on the right the Healthy Yards sign, and we are showing on this page the website where you can go if you want to sign up to show that you don't use pesticides, you're using compost and not pesticides or herbicides, and you're creating a healthy yard. In this picture we see echinacea, of course, which is wonderful for pollinators. And in the foreground, those purple flowers are Stokesia, another native aster.
So tonight we're going to talk about two basic composting systems. Elizabeth's going to take you through backyard composting and how she does it. And then Ellen and I are going to be talking about the municipal food scrap recycling program. They both end up with composting in two different ways. So we'll start with the backyard composting.
Okay, so I use both of the methods that Judy was just describing. I'm going to talk to you about the backyard composting. I compost everything that I can compost in my backyard. It's the easiest for me. I don't have to take it anywhere except to my backyard. These are my two compost bins. I leave them closed in normal times except when I'm filling them. And I want to describe to you that there are 4 elements basically involved in composting. One is nitrogen, and this is present in high quantities in fruit, vegetables, and coffee grounds and other things that we can put into our backyard compost. We balance this out, and this is very important, with what we call the browns. The browns are carbon-rich materials. They're brown. These are usually dried leaves or sticks or straw. You can also, some people use newspaper if they don't have enough other types of browns. You can use wood chips. You can use nut shells. You balance them out using rather more of the browns than the greens. Water facilitates the decomposition of the organic matter. And as Judy said, oxygen, even in your backyard bin, maintains the conditions that are going to be conducive to creating compost. Okay. So this is my countertop pail. So I use this for the backyard compost. And so everything that I put in here is going to be what's going to my backyard. It's only fruits and vegetables. They are raw, any part of the fruit or the vegetable, or maybe they rotted, or they could be steamed or cooked in water. No oil, because that's not part of the backyard system. We're trying to recreate in the backyard basically what happens in nature. You can put eggshells in, you can put coffee grounds. I don't, because I find that they decompose better in the municipal system, but you can do that. We do not put leftovers from people's dinner or bread. All of those things are going to go into the municipal composting. So this is a container I purchased at Bed Bath & Beyond. You can see that they're very, you can find very attractive options. It has a filter in the top of the unit, which you replace from time to time. It's completely odor-free. When the top is on, you don't smell anything. It's a completely contained unit. So this is an example. I have a live-in home chef who created this wonderful cake. And this is an example. It has fruit in it, but we're not going to, first of all, there's never any of that left over, but even if it was, it would not go in the backyard. Okay, I think we get it.
Okay.
So here's a picture of those bins that I showed you before. I've just emptied my pail into the compost bin. You can see it sitting on top of the browns. And then I add what I have kept in the bags. You saw the bag in front of the unit. We're going to have another picture and show it to you again. I add the leaves, and this is just leftover from iris and lilies that I've collected in my garden, and I keep them for when I'm going to be using them for the backyard composting. We can go to the next slide. So here you can see I have the bag of leaves. I just close it when I'm done adding them so that water won't get in there. It wouldn't matter that much if it did, but I close it, and you know, these are I just reuse over and over again the same landscaper bags. I put in the enough to cover. I put rather more browns than greens. That's very important in order to have the compost function well. I leave the lid open if I'm expecting rain. I also sometimes add water if it's been very dry out, because composting will happen more rapidly. It's like in the forest when it rains. This helps the process of decomposition. If my bin is too full, that sometimes happens, I add water, or I could add a compost starter. This will help the composting happen more quickly. I'm usually not in a big hurry, but if the bins are full, then I need to speed it up a little bit. I either add water or a little bit of organic fertilizer that kind of gets the process going. I do this maybe once or twice a year. You usually don't have to do it. I don't stir mine at all. It's really easy peasy. I don't stir it, but there is such a thing as a compost aerator. It's kind of a stick with a hook on the end. Some people do that to make it go faster, but I'm too lazy to do that. I've never done it, and it doesn't seem to matter. After, let's see, I rinse out the countertop pail after, with the outside hose, and then I put it back on the counter. And I just wanted to say, I leave the bin closed so that it can heat up when I'm not filling it or expecting rain. This is a picture I took in my backyard. I have we're actually, doing our own now, and I do it with my husband, but I had some guys come over to do the fall cleanup last year, and they are running their mowers over the leaves. I keep all the leaves on my property. They rake them into the hedge and into the beds, and then they keep a certain amount to go over with their mowers to reduce them into small bits. When you do this, you can, if you add the chopped up leaves to your compost bin, it speeds up the process a little bit. But again, for years and years and years, I did it with full leaves. You don't have to do this. That also works just fine.
So now Ellen and I will take you through the food scrap, the municipal program. And what I'm going to do is just kind of walk you through how I add to my bin. So if I'm on the left, it's, you're chopping up some garlic or some vegetables, or even dicing up some meat if you have some excess fat. All of that food waste goes into the countertop bin. If you're eating a banana in the morning, the peel goes in the bin. And what I have on the right-hand side, that countertop bin sits on my counter in my kitchen. What I traditionally do is I'll put a piece of paper toweling on the bottom, and then I don't know if you can see that picture. Then I line the bin with a compostable bag because it's easier for transport, and I'll show you that in another slide. And as I cook and I have scraps, I literally just scrape them into the bin. And then Ellen,
So like Judy, I keep my countertop bin on my kitchen island next to my prep sink. And just as far as the design, so this is a 3-gallon container, and it's really well designed in that the back of it, you can see that it sort of comes in a little bit. And if you just press that out a little bit with your thumb, the lid easily detaches. So when the lid is off, you could just put the compostable bag liner in the bag, and then you reattach the lid, and it makes the liner bag very secure. So it's not going to fall down and whatever. And alternatively, when you take it out, it's very easy to clean. you have the lid separate, and it's just easy to wash, easy to clean.
Right.
So for my family, I'd say that we change this out probably every 2 or so days, that we fill it up, tie it up, and put it in our larger toter. And, on any given day, you're going to find, eggshells, banana peels, watermelon rinds, clementine rinds, tea bags without the staple, eggshells, chicken bones, etc. And I'd say, it's great. And we're lucky that we do have extra fridge or freezer space. So what I do is when I take it out of here, I actually put it in, we have an extra refrigerator down in our basement. I tend to refrigerate or freeze it. It just keeps it sort of fresh until we'll get into this later, but in the Village of Mamaroneck, we do have a pickup. So until my weekly pickup, I store it in there. You don't have to, it's just something that it's just a hack that I came upon that really works well for us. You can go to the next slide.
Okay. And then what I do is, as my smaller, that's the compostable bag, as that fills up, I tie it up and put it into this larger green container. And what that allows me to do is accumulate 3 or 4, and sometimes, depending on what's in it, 5 of these smaller bags into a larger bag, a larger container in my kitchen. And this is the container that I will take, because I'm in the town of Mamaroneck, to Maxwell Avenue, which is the recycling center that services the town of Mamaroneck and Village of Larchmont. And then Ellen will talk about the Fayette Avenue, which is the drop-off site for the Village of Mamaroneck. And to date, we have about 250 tons of food that have been diverted from the waste stream since this program has been started in the town of Mamaroneck. Other communities, we probably should just stop here in a little bit. Other communities have been doing, have instituted these composting programs as well, and they're on a continuum. I think Elizabeth and Ellen would agree. Scarsdale's kind of like the vanguard. They're really furthest along on the continuum. But City of Rye, Ossining, White Plains just announced it, Pelham, they're all kind of getting into the food scrap recycling from a town standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to show everybody, I just redid my kitchen. Otherwise, I was using the exact same container that Ellen and Judy are using, and I love that container, but this was an opportunity to get some of it under the counter because I already have the other container for the backyard composting. So these bins are exactly the same size. Mine is made by Revashelf, but I'm sure there are many other brands. They have a special, you can see that when on the left, you can see the recycling, the food scrap recycling bin is closed. When you open it up, you can see the filter, which only has to be changed once or twice a year. And this too is completely odor-free. It opens very easily. I buy a larger size of a compostable, bag made out of potato or cornstarch or whatever materials that are compostable. And I then take this outside, let's see. Oh, so then I'm showing you a picture of my trash bin. As Judy made the point earlier, there's no trash. We take our trash out. There are just 2 or 3 of us here now, but we take it out, I don't know, every 10 days. Sometimes it's every 2 weeks. We just don't have any trash. And it doesn't smell and it's light. So we just keep cramming it in there and then take it out to the curb when we have something to take out. Okay. So what I wanted to show you also is, next slide, please, that I keep my green bin in the driveway. I've always kept it there. I've been doing this for a couple of years. I've never had a problem because when you close the green bin, it locks. Even if the wind blows it over or somebody walking by kicks it over, it doesn't open. I don't line my green bin. It just never occurred to me. I do put a piece of, I put a folded paper bag in the bottom, but many times that doesn't even get soiled or dirty. So I just leave it there until there's kind of a leak, and then I'll change that and rinse out the bin. I take it, I do what Judy does, put several bags in and take it to Maxwell Ave whenever it's full.
Gotcha.
And Ellen, I think you wanted to add something about where you keep your bin. Your outdoor.
Well, okay, I keep my bin in our garage actually. but really it does stay empty until I put it out every Friday for pickup.
Mhm.
But the reason I leave it in my garage is sometimes I find that with high winds and it's empty, it just sort of flies around our backyard. So we keep it in our garage.
Mhm. And I wind up just keeping it in my kitchen. And one of the things I think Ellen or Elizabeth talked about it, these units have a locking mechanism. So it really reduces the odor and the spillage from anything that would accumulate in the bins. Both the countertop snaps close and the green bins, the handle is designed in such that when you close the bin and raise the handle, it actually locks the top in place.
Yes, Judy, you can see the handle on, in the prior slide, you could see the handle. This is really locked in place. It's not just a little snap thing like on the indoor bin. It's a complete mechanism that's really foolproof.
Right, and I'll just add to that, that it makes it also easy to carry.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
very
The handle,
transportable.
handle. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on the next slide, we're going to talk about the accepted items in the food waste recycling program, which one of the, I guess, advantages you could say over a backyard compost is it does accept many, many more items. You could put more items in this than you could in your backyard. So I'm just going to run through the list. Many of them you would expect, which are, fruit and vegetables. But one thing to be aware of, any food stickers need to be taken off.
Yep.
So, and they seem to be on everything. So avocados, banana peels, just take off the stickers. All meat and poultry, bones are fine. Fish and shellfish, the shells are fine. You can put in dairy products, bread and pasta, rice and grains, your eggshells, chips, snacks, nuts and seeds, any leftover spoiled food. So again, when you get up from the dinner table, you just, rather than scraping off your food into the garbage, you scrape off your food into your compost bin.
Yep.
Coffee grounds and the paper filters are okay. You can put paper towels and napkins in, cut flowers, and of course, compostable bags. The other item is you're seeing more and more compostable serveware. And so long as it has the BPI insignia on it, the logo, you could put that in the bin. If you don't see the BPI logo, leave it out. The one thing you want to avoid is any contamination.
Right.
So when you really aren't sure, just leave it out.
And until the standards are in place, a lot of things may say compostable, but it's not to the standard of BPI, which the facility that we truck our food scraps to is only accepting the BPI because it's a standard to say that the majority of the composition of this serveware is a high, has been able to reduce a lot of the carbon coming out of it.
So Judy, I just want to add something here, which is to say that for people who like to do the backyard composting or who are doing it right now, but know that they can't put their chicken bones and their fish bones and everything Ellen listed in there. It is getting trucked up to Ulster County for Larchmont and the town of Mamaroneck at this point. So it's true that there is an environmentally friendly side to using some backyard composting if you have the room and the inclination to do that, because then you don't have the carbon footprint of trucking.
Absolutely.
But at some point, there'll be a facility that'll be closer, but this is still far better than any other trash system that we've had so far.
Yep. Okay, so just to continue on, as my green bin gets full, I go down to Maxwell Avenue, which is right adjacent to the entrance for 95, and I guess the exit and entrance in Larchmont for 95, just next to that New York Sports Club. And at the crest of the hill, once you're inside Maxwell Avenue, they have an area that's designated strictly for food waste recycling, and it's signed. And what you do is you pull up and you dump your food scraps into the containers that they have assigned for food waste. On the side of that shed that you can see just in the top left-hand corner, there is a spigot, a water spigot that you can actually rinse out your food scrap recycling bin before you bring it back home.
Okay. So for Village of Mamaroneck residents, our recycling center is located at 313 Fayette Avenue, which is off of Fenimore Road. So if you're traveling west on Fenimore going towards Scarsdale, you'll see, it's actually easy to miss, but you'll see Fayette Avenue As a landmark on the left, there's Vincent's Garage and the Gulf Station.
Mhm.
So the photo that we have here on the left, you could see our signage, the Food Scrap Recycling sign and the Village of Mamaroneck Recycling Center sign. So you make a right turn into there, and then you sort of go straight back, and then you see another set of signs, which is the photo on the right, and you'll see that up against a wall with a parking lot. So you make a right turn, and you're actually driving through a parking lot, and our bins are at the end of that for drop off. And we are fortunate to have a gentleman named Robert who helps you, and he will take the bin out of your car for you. He will dump it in the bin for you, and if your bin is dirty, he will actually rinse it out for you. So it's pretty full service in the Village of Mamaroneck right now. So a lot of people don't know where this is. It's a little bit tucked away, but once you know where it is, you'll be able to find it. So our hours, the DVW hours, which are when you go to buy a kit and to drop off your food scraps, are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. We normally have Saturday hours, but they've been closed since COVID, and not sure when we'll reopen on Saturdays. And I just want to say that since the inception of our program in June of 2018, we have diverted 125 tons of food waste from the food scraps from the waste stream. So we're proud of that.
Great.
So as I mentioned earlier, if you live in the village, we are very fortunate to have a curbside pickup service. This is a company, ASAP Scraps, that was founded and is run by Rhinebeck High School students. These guys and girls are true entrepreneurial environmentalists. So nothing gets better than that. I've been using this service for over a year. They are 100% reliable and amazing, and it's a nonprofit. So even though we do pay, all proceeds go to a conservancy organization. And they charge $15.99 a month for weekly pickups. It's every Friday, and $160 a year for their annual fee for 1 year. You could also buy rolls of compostable bags from them. They'll deliver it to your house, and you can actually buy a kit with them. So we are, as I said, very fortunate to have this startup in our neighborhood. You can go to the next slide.
Okay, so I just want to stop at this point. I mentioned it in my introductory remarks, but last year, the town of Mamaroneck, Village of Larchmont, and Village of Mamaroneck applied for a 3-year grant from the New York State. And what New York State was trying to do was encourage the reduction of food waste. They weren't necessarily pushing compost. Compost is a part of it, but if you step back a little bit, the best way to compost is to be aware of what you're buying, not overbuy, use what you have, and what you're left with, then you can compost. So this is a video that the Love Your Food group put together, and I think we'll play the video and then we'll talk about it when we get on the other side. So when we talk about Love Your Food, one of the things that comes, one of the things they're trying to do is educate residents, and we're doing it through the school system as well, to really make people aware of their food habits. So they have a website, and you can see it on the bottom of the screen. It's loveyourfoodnewyork.org, ny.org. And I encourage you to go to it, because amongst other things, it will give you an estimator for how much food to buy, suggestions on how to store your food, an explanation on expiration dates, which can be kind of confusing because the food producers have a profit motive to make you buy more food. But from an environmental standpoint, the more careful you are about the food that you buy and the food that you eat, enables is better for the environment. So I would encourage you to look at their website. And then the next slide is really just to kind of gives you an overview of what they're trying to do. So they're saying, you know, when you're thinking about food, plan ahead. You know, spontaneity is good, but when you're talking about food, planning is really key. So understand what you're going to buy, how much you're going to buy what you need, store it correctly, put the right amount. You know, one of the tips is, you know, shop in your refrigerator before you go to the supermarket. See what you have, see the meal that you can make from what you have on hand. You know, consume it, and then food scrap recycling it what you can. In the district, what we've been able to do is the food that's not eaten from the lunches in the grammar schools, middle schools, and high schools, we've actually been able to, there are a number of volunteers, we donate that food to food pantries and community soup kitchens. So it is kind of this holistic, try to think about food in a more circular way, rather than just kind of buying one off and wind up wasting it. Okay.
So if you're interested in getting started with food scrap recycling, there are resources that you could reach out to. They are different. If you live in the village of Larchmont or the town of Mamaroneck, you would contact your own sanitation department. Same for the village of Mamaroneck residents. You could either contact me, which will have that contact in the chat, or contact your the village or the recycling center. And all these links should be in the chat, so I'm not going to go through them, but they should all be in the chat, so you should find them there. So we recently had these really fun new stickers designed. They're nice size, they're 5 inches, so they make a statement. And we're giving them away free to all composters, and the idea is to put them on your bin, even put them on your trash bins, your recycle bins, on your car, and just, you know, tell the world that you compost, and maybe elicit sort of a thought of a neighbor or a friend of like, oh, maybe I should look into that. So we're really just trying to sort of message what we're doing, and they're just you know, eye-catching stickers that we thought were fun. So if you live in the town or village of Larchmont, you can get these stickers at the Maxwell Avenue Recycling Center, or at the restaurants The Grange and Apiary, if you're familiar with those. For Village of Mamaroneck residents, you can get them at Village Hall, which is 123 Mamaroneck Avenue, or again, you can email me and I can drop them off for you.
And then for the town, you can also get them at the town center. The gentleman who sits in the front desk has a basket of them. And also, just as an aside, it was designed by a resident, Laura Workin, who I think did a great job on the design. And Elizabeth was very involved in making sure it was precise, and I think they did a great job on the design of the stickers. Okay.
Thank you, Judy. Yes, Laura did a fantastic job. We love our stickers, and the VOM one looks equally fantastic. So we wanted to tell you about an upcoming event, the Larchmont Mamaroneck Pollinator Garden Tour, which is happening in about 10 days on June 13th from 10 to 1, 10 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. Trish is going to put in the chat the website that you see on there, which is a completely separate website from the one for the little sign for your garden. This is out of Bedford. They are federating all of the Westchester pollinator pathway groups. I was just on the phone today with a very prominent native plant landscape designer in this area, and he said to me that he felt that Pollinator Pathways was the group that's done more than anything else to try to get people to understand how to make their yards and their gardens more healthy, so that we can preserve this lovely monarch butterfly that you see on those asters, and the native bees, and the birds, because we have learned from listening to Doug Ptolemy that every single bird on the planet, with maybe 3% exceptions, they all feed their young with insects during the first few weeks of life. Even if they grow up and go to your bird feeder and eat sunflower seeds, when they are babies, they have to eat insects, caterpillars, and no, the birds are not responsible for the decline of the monarchs. There should be plenty of caterpillars for everybody if we plant monarch and caterpillar and beneficial insect-friendly plants, natives. And then there are some non-native plants that are very pollinator friendly. So this is going to be a wonderful garden tour, and I urge you all to come along. You see the pollinator pathway sign with the butterfly in the prior slide, which if you are on the pollinator pathway and you want to sign up, you can get one of these signs. They're very pretty, and people love butterflies, and they attract a lot of attention. Next slide, Judy. So this is our poster. This is a new group. We've just started this past winter, and this is our kickoff event. We're joining the Westchester Pollinator Garden Tour, but with for the first time ever, a large number of gardens right here in Larchmont and Mamaroneck. And we're very proud about that, and really looking forward to it. As I said before, you'll be able to see a map and a list of all the addresses to go to on Sunday morning, June 13. You can contact me. My information is there if you have any questions about it. And I have a small team of very dedicated people who are helping me, and we're hoping to grow the team more and more, because there's a lot of wonderful things to do with the pollinator pathways, and every pollinator garden uses compost. That's the way to go.
Great. So as we're winding down here, we just wanted to list out, if you had any follow-up questions, the people to contact. If Town of Mamaroneck and Village of Larchmont, you can contact the sanitation at information@thesanitation.org, or we have a sustainability coordinator, Sue Oderna, who is wonderful, and you can contact her at the Town of Mamaroneck, NewYork.org. In the Village of Mamaroneck, they have a sanitation email, and then they also have the Committee for Environment email. Or if any of you after this call have any questions and you want to contact either Elizabeth, Ellen, or myself, there are our emails listed. And I think Sue is going to, Trish is going to be putting these in the chat as well.
So I just want to let everyone know, if you want to learn more about the importance of composting around the globe, I highly recommend you watch these documentaries. For me, watching Wasted, the story of food waste, that was sort of my aha moment of like, wow, we need to do this. And I haven't turned back. And I've seen the film a few times. I made my kids watch it. It's entertaining, it's eye-opening, it's really, it's just a great film that everyone should see. I highly recommend it. I also recently watched Kiss the Ground, which is about regenerative, I knew I wouldn't be able to say the word, regenerative farming. And also how composting comes into play, with that. And then Just Eat It, which I haven't seen yet, but that is on my list of films to see. Wasted, I believe you could see on Amazon Prime. Kiss the Ground is on Netflix. And then you could also see all these films. You could check them out from your local libraries. But I do recommend watching them if you want to learn more.
And
I think with that, we're gonna open it up to questions.
Ellen, I actually have one thing that I didn't say earlier that I would like to say.
Oh, sure.
Now about the backyard composting, which is no, it does not attract animals.
Oh, good point.
Never seen an animal near my 2 compost bins, and they've been there for at least 15 years or more. And if you are composting as we have described it, and as you can find out more in the various resources that you can find on the web, and also some that we share, it doesn't attract animals at all. I think it's kind of an urban legend. And sometimes if people aren't putting enough browns, they may have experienced some mild odors, but those are solved when you add a sufficient number of browns. You can kind of play around with it. You get a feel for it, after a while. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you all. I will read the chat. We have a few comments and questions. Number one is I've been composting and I have a problem with it sitting there.
Okay, I can respond to that, Lois. I think you mean in your backyard composting, right? Yeah. So usually what's happening is it seems kind of unbelievable because nobody ever told us this before, but adding the water, adding the browns, these are what are going to make your compost. I'll come over to your house if you want and give you a free consultation. I did that with the person who set up our Zoom call for the Larchmont Library. I think she was pretty happy after that. We had a lot of fun. You know, again, you need to get the hang of it, and sometimes it can be helpful to have somebody who's been doing it for a long time take a look. Composting goes faster if your bin is in the sun. This being said, mine is not. I'm not going to put the compost bin in the middle of my backyard. Sorry, folks, but it's fine. It's in a very shady area. That means it's a little slower, but it's still turning into compost. And when it gets down to the bottom and I lift up that little trap door, it comes out as very nice brown, leafy, rich, earthy matter. So usually the main problem is coming from not enough water, not enough browns, and as I mentioned earlier, but I'll mention it again, compost starter or a little bit of organic fertilizer. I don't use that anymore because I've put so much compost on my property. I think I could stop and it would be fine for a couple of years, but I still have a bag of it, and every once in a while I'll take a little bit of that organic fertilizer and sprinkle that in there, put some water in, and it'll start to heat up.
What can I do if it's full and I haven't put the brown in? Maybe I need you to come over and help me.
Yeah, sure, I'll come over. Yeah, yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, so people, you know, the thing is, I keep the leaves in those bags. I even use those giant plastic black bags. It's okay to use a plastic bag if you reuse it for 5 or 10 years the way I do. Those are in my garage or behind my garage where my leaves are, because as a friend of mine once said, this stuff is like gold. I'm not letting those leaves leave my property. But until you have to get organized for that, because otherwise they're out on the curb, and then when you go to your compost bin, you don't have the browns. And I've had people order browns, you know, through Amazon or something, coir or whatever that material is from coconuts or something. We don't usually need to do that. We can just use our own leaves, but it does, you know, you have to kind of think it through and put some aside. I'll give you some leaves if you want.
I've been known to, when my neighbors have their landscapers and they put all the leaves in the big brown bags, I have been known to take one of those bags to use it, and I put it next to my, yeah, so I'm like robbing from my neighbors, which they don't mind because it's at the curb anyway, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, next comment. I have heard that oranges and peels should not go in our compost, or things that don't grow here.
I'm talking about the one in my backyard. The oranges I put in with the town, with the village.
Oh, okay. I'm reassured, Lois. I'm feeling a lot better now that you told me that. I don't know, ladies, if anybody else has heard this. I haven't heard that. No. You know, because they're getting down to such an elemental level of organic that I don't think there's any, you know, the problem with non-natives is that pollinators can't eat them or survive on their nectar. It's not that when they break down, they're going to be very similar. I'm making this up, but I think they're very similar to plants around the world, you know, the basic chemical elements of compost. So I don't know. I haven't heard that. You know, you can continue to do whatever you think is best, but I think that you know, bananas, you know, I mean, a lot of our fruits do not grow here, and mine all go in there when they break down. I think it's fine to use even in an organic or native plant garden.
Good.
Okay, another question. When did they start to pick up in the village of Mamaroneck?
Oh, I realized it's that service that the kids do, so that's not, you can ignore that question.
Okay,
It is an issue though, like in Village of Larchmont and Town of Mamaroneck, you know, a lot of people ask, when is there going to be municipal pickup? And it's one of these, you know, the pendulum has to swing. You have to have enough. It's kind of like a catch-22. People say, oh, I'll wait until we do municipal pickup. The problem is we need the groundswell of people to do it now so that we can justify the municipal pickup. So it is something that's brought up a lot of times, and we're just hoping that people do the municipal drop off, the numbers grow, and then in turn we can go back to the town administration and say, here are the numbers of people who are doing it. Now it's time to look at how we can incorporate it into our regular food waste processes.
It's not a big deal. I go once a week.
Right.
Thank you.
Once a week, you know, it doesn't take long, and Robert cleans the bin, and
Mhm.
oh my God, it's
You
wonderful.
guys in Village of Mamaroneck have like a concierge service. I am very jealous. I think it's fantastic. When somebody was explaining it to me, what's done, I was like flabbergasted. So you have a good deal going there. I agree with you.
And not only does Robert do that, he has all these people donate, you know, they give things that they're throwing out. So
That's
there's
great.
like all this stuff there.
That's fantastic.
I got a little coffee maker, a Krups coffee maker. I mean,
Mhm.
I just want to reiterate Judy's point that, you know, it's like chicken and egg kind of situation, but we just want to encourage everybody to do it as much as possible, because that's the only way we're ever going to get to a municipal pickup. But just so that you know, Karen Core and the other people who are responsible for this program in the town and the Village of Larchmont are thinking about this all the time, just so you know.
Yep, exactly.